Baller. All right, folks. Welcome to the Northwest Cider Association annual meeting. We are a pretty fantastic organization with some incredible names listed down below. Those of you who don't want to turn your cameras on, I get it. We see your names anyways, and that's lovely that you're here. Good morning. We're all here together and part of this nexus of Northwest cider that blends makers and growers and allied suppliers, all keeping the Pacific Northwest craft cider industry as a beating heart of the overall national cider industry. It feels good to see you all. And I've appreciated the cider socials and the various ways that we get to run into each other out in the world year in and year out. We are here together to continue to be part of this vibrant and collaborative industry. And we nurture that cider ecosystem. And so I like the ecosystem analogy. And I look at you all and I see the interconnectivity. I see so many of the ways that we support each other and engage with each other, challenge each other at times as well. And those roles come together in small ways when we get to be together. And so I see us here on Zoom. I look forward to seeing all of you at the symposium, if that is on your spring agenda. And let us continue to tell the story of Pacific Northwest cider together. Emily, please.
Thanks so much, Andrew. And thank you for being our board president. Welcome. Hello, I'm Emily Ritchie, the executive director of the Northwest Cider Association. It is such a pleasure to see you all today. Welcome to our 2024 annual member meeting. We do have a packed agenda. We have some state of the industry analysis and some board members for you to meet. Our cider, I like the cider ecosystem analogy as well as Andrew, and it is really the strongest cider ecosystem I've seen worldwide here in the Pacific Northwest, and that's because of you all. You all are supporting each other and a thriving cider association, and we are moving the needle forward as you participate every day. So thank you for being here. Thank you to our cideries, to our allied suppliers and our orchardists. Thank you everyone who has renewed your membership already. We really, really appreciate that. Our vision here at the association is that the Pacific Northwest is at the heart of the craft cider movement with a vibrant collaborative industry where anyone can share in the success and joy of cider. To do that, we nurture the community, the economy, and the ecosystem of a thriving cider culture for our members and for consumers by supporting businesses, inspiring quality, and telling the story of Pacific Northwest cider. Thank you so much to our meeting sponsors, the American Cider Association, Callis Insurance, and Columbia Distributing. We really couldn't do the work we do without our partnerships. And I want to invite up on stage to welcome you, Michelle McGrath, the CEO of the American Cider Association. And it's very convenient for us to say hello and a quick goodbye too, if you didn't see the news recently that she has taken another job. Luckily, we will see her at CiderCon before she leaves. Michelle?
Yes, and luckily I'm based in the Pacific Northwest, so y'all aren't getting rid of me that easily. I'm going to be remaining a part of the cider community, and the ACA is going to continue strong, in part due to our wonderful partnership with the Northwest Cider Association. We're so grateful that these two strong organizations can work together in tandem on shared goals and also complement each other in a number of ways. So thank you, Northwest Cider Association, for our years of partnership and moving forward to partnership in the future. As Emily said, I'm the CEO of the American Cider Association, and our mission is to build and protect a sustainable and diverse cider industry in the United States through targeted education, advocacy, and a welcoming, thriving cider community. And I just want to briefly share a few updates about the work that we're doing in this arena. I have a handy acronym that I use to help me frame the work that we do, and it's pear, not apple, but pear. We welcome Perry producers as well. So peer-to-peer networking, that's really what CiderCon is all about. CiderCon is the world's largest cider conference. It's going to be back in Chicago, where the hotel rooms are affordable and the flights are affordable, and it's a gorgeous hotel. We're really looking forward to getting together again. I'm looking forward to going. So if you haven't registered yet, if you register by Friday, you have a chance to win 2 nights hotel. So there's an incentive to do that by Friday. And this year, our theme is Planet People Profit. We're looking at cider's balanced future, really thinking about the intersection of all the different meanings of the word sustainability. And we have a number of great producers from the Northwest, as well as Jana from the NWCA team, speaking at CiderCon this year. So there will be familiar faces, and it will be a lot of fun. The other thing, just touch briefly on the E in PAIR, education. So, a big part of what the ACA is doing is education, and that's where our partnership with NWCA really is really vibrant. So we are educating frontline salespeople, media, Congress, retailers, distributors across the country about the true story of cider. Part of how we do that is talking about how to make cider pairings, because I think you guys are going to talk about this today in the meeting. There's evidence that if a waiter makes a drink pairing recommendation, a consumer is like 10 times more likely to purchase that drink. So educating bartenders about how to pair cider is actually moving the needle forward. So we do that with our certified cider professional program. There are a couple different levels of education in that program. Some of them result in certifications. And we have a roadshow that we're taking on the streets of Washington, thanks to a great partnership with NWCA. So this spring, we're going to have some opportunities for folks to participate in those certified cider professional workshops, thanks to our partnership with NWCA and their USDA grant. Keep your eyes and your ears open for those opportunities. And it's good for you to go, but it's even better for your tasting room staff, your favorite account, your distributor, retailer, like those folks that can really move the needles on cider sales. That's who we're going after. So Spokane and Port Townsend and Tacoma are on our docket for our spring roadshow. So keep your eyes open for those. And NWCA will help us promote those as well. So you can get information about that through them. The A in PAIR is advocacy. So a big part of what the ACA does is advocating for the cider industry for common sense regulations at the federal level. We do some state level stuff too. We've had some success on some projects with the Northwest Cider Association, but the TTB and Congress are really who we are talking to about cider. I will drop an action alert in the chat when I'm done talking about you reaching out to your congressional representatives about the bubble bill. The Bubble Tax Modernization Act was introduced at CiderCon last year. And that bill would increase the allowable carbonation on fruit ciders under 8.5% ABV. So you could have a more sparkling fruit cider before being subjected to the dreaded bubble taxes or champagne taxes. So if anybody wants to learn more about that, we really need cideries to reach out to their congressional leaders and tell them that this is really important to their business. That's how we're going to move this forward. So we're working on 2025, still not giving up hope on 2024. But the bubble bill is something that we're excited about, because we really think that it could open up innovation for cider makers in a way that they're being prohibited from accessing at the moment, unlike our other alcohol segment compatriots such as beer and RTDs. Lastly, standards of fill. Thank you to all of you who submitted comments to the TTB when we asked on standards of fill. We are optimistic that the TTB is going to approve 16 ounce and 19.2 ounce cans for cider over 7% before the end of the year. There was a huge outpouring of cider comments in favor of this. So we're feeling optimistic. We'll let you know as soon as we know for sure. But the last time we got a new standard of fill approved, which was 2020 when we got 12-ounce cans approved, they announced it like on Christmas, the day before Christmas Eve or something like that. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll keep you posted. But thank you for everybody who submitted comments. It's very helpful for them to hear from it from members. The third advocacy piece that we're working on is trying to approve harvest dates so that ciders over 7% could list the harvest date since they're not allowed to access vintage. This is one we've been working on since 2018. We did hear last spring that it is finally a top 5 winemaking priority or wine priority for the TTB. It's a little unclear what that means, but they're still talking about it, which is great. So hopefully you will all be able to use harvest dates on your COLA approved cider labels in the near future. The R in pair is resources. So, because we work a lot on the federal level, we do have a lot of compliance resources, particularly with the TTB. So if anybody has any questions about how to take your small producer tax credit or, winery operation reports or anything like that on a federal level, reach out to the ACA. I didn't get a chance to look at the gallery view to see which of the board members are here, but the Northwest is very well represented on the ACA board. You have 4, Marcus, Christine, Dave Takish, and Philippe from Alpenfire. I might make them dress up as Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band at CiderCon for my going away present. So hopefully the Pacific Northwest Cider Beetles will be there. But feel free to reach out to any of them as well if you have questions about the ACA. So hopefully I'll see you all at CiderCon. Thanks again for your partnership, NWCA. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much, Michelle, and thank you for all you've done for the cider industry the last 9 years or so. It's really been great to have you locally, and fingers crossed the next director comes from this region as well. Okay, hello. 2024 meeting agenda, just briefly, we've done our welcomes. The next up is board elections. Hopefully you've seen your ballot in your email. If you are one of the bundle administrators or an owner from your cidery and you haven't, put a message into Laura in the chat. We will then talk about things coming up, looking ahead, and then I will present the data from the State of the Cider Industry Report 2024. And finally, we'll do a recap of programs that you have paid for this last year. Andrew.
Yeah. Hey, y'all. Look at your board members. Being part of the board of the Northwest Cider Association has been a commitment that Finn River as a cider house has made for almost since the inception of the association. And we as a company feel very strongly that participating in the creation of the culture is a crucial step towards accountability and building the industry that we want to be a part of, so that we can extend our values. In that same way, it has just been an honor to serve with such a wide variety of individuals that come together and help this association be what it is. And as we bring new people on board, I'm going to take a moment and lay out the mechanics of specifically how you become a board member, or how board members get to this point in the game, so that we're all clear and tidy going forward. And so here comes a little bit of specific rigmarole. As set forth in our bylaws, the nominating committee shall make known its proposed slate of candidates for the open directors positions. All members will vote on the slate of director candidates during its fall annual meeting. Each director shall hold office for a term of 2 years, beginning the day that they are elected. How, you might ask, did the nominating committee pick these exceptional candidates? We are very careful to get a board that represents our membership in gender, geographical location, size of cideries, styles of cider produced, and skill sets that help further our strategic plan or the goals within our strategic plan. The nominating committee interviewed 9 candidates this year for 3 open spots and proposes the following 3 candidates for the next 2-year term. For these 3 candidates, I guess, Emily, would you rather I finish my legal spiel before we go into the individual introductions? And then we can hand the mic around like that? Cool. So I will bring you our candidates in just a moment here. Each dues-paying cidery in our membership should, hang on there, have received your ballot, much like Emily just spoke to. We have an opportunity to ratify these 3 proposed candidates, and there are 2 board members returning for a second term. One is yours truly, Andrew Byers from Finn River Cidery, and Scott Katzma from Seattle Cider. And if you haven't yet voted, we resent the ballots at 10 o'clock this morning, and we'll close the election at 10:30 in the middle of this meeting. So now is the time to make sure that you've had your vote spoken. And with that, Lindsay, Molly, and Kate, each of you, I'm going to go around, and on my list, it starts with Lindsay from Field Day PR. Would you please take a moment and introduce yourself to the rest of the Cider Association?
Thanks so much, Andrew. Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay Dyke. I'm the founder of Field Day PR, and it's a boutique public relations firm based in Portland, Oregon. I live in Milwaukee, Clackamas County, to be exact. And I'm not a cider maker or an apple grower, but I do have one Mountain Rose apple tree in my front yard that I take very good care of. So representing, but I was excited to put my name on the ballot and participate. I've had the honor from my PR point of view to work alongside some incredible Pacific Northwest cider makers from a public relations and communications front over the past several years. And through that, I've seen the firsthand potential that cider has to bring community together and its ability to shine this light on both our farmers and our food systems. As the daughter of sheep and hazelnut farmers from the Willamette Valley, that is a huge importance to me. And I'm super passionate about the terroir and the potential of cider from the Pacific Northwest. And I'm hoping that I can bring some insights from my national and regional communications perspective to help support the work you all are doing. So I hope I covered everything, Emily and Andrew, but it's great to meet you all.
Lovely. Thank you, Lindsay. Molly from Cider, would you take a moment and introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me okay? Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Molly Crandalls. I am coming here to represent Canada, essentially. And specifically, I'm on Vancouver Island near Victoria and working at Cider. I do come from a winemaking background. I've been in the wine industry since about 20, oh gosh, I don't even want to date myself now. But let's go about 15 years back. But I've been interested in the cider game all along, and I have been making cider since 2017. My cider making experience is all in BC, and I'm really excited to bring that experience to the board, as well as talk a little bit about how we can take some new exciting perspectives from Canada and bring them to this primarily American board. As I mentioned, I do have a winemaking background. I have a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, a Master of Science of Enology and Viticulture, and a lot of sensory and fermentation experience in general. So yeah, I'm really excited to be nominated today, and looking forward to bringing any insight I can to the board and working on building this community with you all together. Thank you so much.
Awesome. That's pretty fantastic. Kate from Rootwood Cidery, would you take the microphone and do the same?
Hello, everyone. Yep, I'm Kate Koenig Howard, Rootwood Cider. We're based in North Central Washington, right near Lake Chelan. And I'm the cider maker here, and my 2 sisters and I are the co-owners, and we started.
Can I help you guys?
Oh, sorry. My two sisters and I are the owners of the cider side now, but we still work with my parents on orcharding, and they were instrumental in the founding of Rootwood as well. So big family business over here. And I was just gonna mention I'm interested in serving on the board. I really believe in the power of community, which has been mentioned quite a bit, which I think is all about support, supporting each other and being supported. And I know our company has felt supported by the industry, and especially Northwest Cider Association. And like to offer whatever support I can, coming from my perspective, and really want to help however I can in the continued growth and evolution as cider, in the cider industry as an agricultural product, kind of the ag side.
Fantastic. Thank you. And taking a moment as we introduce 3 new faces to this assembly, also to put out some gratitude for board members that are on their way to new adventures. First and foremost on my screen to the right is Rachel Bolongaro, who has served on the board absolutely studiously and is a sad day to see go. And Rachel, you're welcome to a microphone if you need one, but otherwise, service well received. Thank you so much.
Just want to say a quick thank you, and it's been an absolute blast being on the board with you guys. So I may be gone, but I hope I won't be forgotten, and I'll be back.
Not a chance. Fantastic. Also saying goodbye to Amy Wood, and I'm not sure if I see her in the mix here, but you have the same opportunities for farewell, as well as Trevor Hertrick, who both of whom helped further the causes, and we're sad to see them go, and really grateful for the contributions that they made while they were with us. And new faces and new energy, here we go. And I believe I have accomplished my goals. Emily, do I have the permission to sign off on this one?
You do. Thank you so much for walking
Fantastic.
us through that.
All right.
Last chance to vote. Turn in your ballots. I didn't see any messages in the chat, so hopefully everyone got them and they're submitting them now before we close the ballots. All right. Looking ahead, I want to say our budget is really strong. To help us increase demand and establish the Pacific Northwest as the heart of the craft cider movement, which is what we're always aiming to do. We did raise $600,000 in the last year in both grants and sponsorships. So we're very fortunate to be able to continue marketing, continue programming to improve the quality of cider and the visibility of Northwest Cider specifically. I want to emphasize that your membership creates the association's backbone for our financial structure. We literally could not apply for grants if we didn't have your membership dues. So they're really the core of what we need. And then beyond that, we can really make your membership dues go far with specialty crop grants. So looking ahead, I'm going to pass the mic to Emily Becker.
Hey everyone. Oh, there's a virtual workshop coming up on Tuesday. Yeah.
Yes, Tuesday. Please come out. The esteemed Greg Peck is going to talk about his own research at Cornell in New York, and compare it to what he saw on his recent tour in Oregon and Washington. I think it was back in June. So hear his research. If you haven't registered for that, I think Laura will drop a link in the chat. Now it's Emily.
Thanks. So we're getting ready for the Northwest Cider Symposium. We have a super fun, buffet of things happening right now, and a really wonderful planning team. Thanks to everybody who's on the planning team helping to organize it. It's going to be March 18th in Tacoma. And for the newer members, we have an annual event. It's called the Northwest Cider Symposium. We get people together to learn about making cider, about growing apples, and about running a business, as well as how to sell cider. And we also have a lot of time to visit with our allied supplier members and learn about how they can support your business. And also a lot of time to hang out and drink cider and visit together, because we think that's super important. We didn't have the symposium this year because we had CiderCon in Chicago, and I'm sorry, Chicago next year. This year it was in Portland, and that's why we skipped we wanted as many people as possible to come to the CiderCon in Portland, and we worked very closely with the ACA on that. And so we didn't hold the symposium this year, but next year we're going to have it in March, and it's going to be really fun. Registration is open. It is $125 a person for a full day of workshops, the trade show, networking events, cider tastings, happy hour, and lunch and coffee. So it's a pretty good deal. We try to keep it as low as possible for our members, because we want you to bring as many people as you can from your whole team. And because it really helps if you have not just the owner or just the cider maker, but you have, the person who's washing the dishes and working in the tap room or out in the fields. Like, if we can have the whole group there, it's really helpful for everyone to learn from each other. We also, because we know $125 isn't a lot, but it can be a lot if you have multiple people coming and you have to pay for travel and everything too. We do have some scholarships open, scholarships available, as well as some work trade positions. So for work trade, it's 4 hours of your time on Monday or Tuesday, and then you get free registration. And then we have 20 scholarships available. We have some wonderful scholarship sponsors this year. And we're still hustling to try to get more. So maybe there'll be even additional ones, but do apply for a scholarship or a volunteer position soon, and do register as soon as you can. Let's see what else is happening. So we have some new fun things happening this year. Mostly kind of like outside the core of the event, which we have 3 blocks of time where you can go to one of 4 sessions. We also have opening session where we do some roundtable networking, and at end of the day happy hour. And in between that, we have a lot of different events, including the trade show. But this year we're going to add in a scion exchange. So make sure to save your scion wood and bring it in March. And we're also going to add a swag swap. So we'll hear more about that soon. But we'll, bring a hat, bring a t-shirt. We'll do some trading, and then we'll all get to celebrate each other's cideries and businesses throughout the year. And then for happy hour this year, if you want to bring cider, we would love to have you bring cider. You don't have to pour it. It's we'll have people pour for you unless you want to. And just as you register, you'll see an option to say if you want to, or maybe you want to bring cider. And then, of course, I have to say thank you so much to Northwest Naturals, our presenting sponsor, as well as all of our other allied supplier members who are sponsoring the event this year and coming to the trade show. They help a lot with offsetting the cost of the event to make sure that we can put it on, and are also just really fun people. So make sure you visit all of their booths when you come to the symposium. We'll have a lot more information coming out in the near future. So just, read the newsletter, pay attention to the Google listserv, and make sure you get registered soon. Emily, do you want to go? Yeah. Okay, so the Northwest Cider Cup is also coming up. So symposium in March, Northwest Cider Cup. New this year. I'll pause for a second. First of all, the Northwest Cider Cup is our cider competition. We are aiming to be the most prestigious cider competition in North America. The competition is really about increasing and celebrating the quality of cider making in the Northwest. We give entrants constructive feedback from trained judges, and we use the competition to promote the overall cider category through all of our marketing efforts. So we are promoting the cup itself, and then we are also following up with media to events to help you sell ciders that win and help sell more cider in general. And also we have a really fun party. So there's a lot of great reasons to participate in the cup. The cup is going to be on June 9th this year. If you're interested in judging, the interest form will open in January. Stay tuned for that. And we're actually going to open for entries a lot earlier this year on March 3rd, because we know that one of the biggest costs of participating in the cup is shipping. And so if you enter in the first 2 weeks of March and fill out the entry form, and then you come to the symposium, you can give us your cider at the symposium and we will store it for you until the cup in June. So if your cider's ready to go, you know what you want to enter, you can also enter some early and bring it to the symposium and then enter more later if that works for you, whatever you want. But I will be the person driving your cider from Tacoma to Portland. And so, you know, especially for our BC and Washington makers, we wanted to let you know about this as early as possible so you can start to think about entering early and bringing your cider to the symposium, because we know it can be hard to swallow those shipping fees, especially from BC. And then, yeah, if you don't bring your cider to the symposium, you'll be able to ship or drop off the cider from April 28th to May 30th. Do you want to go to the next slide, Emily? So this is kind of like all the dates of events that are happening that we have figured out right now. So go ahead and take a screenshot of this or make sure to pay attention to the notes when they get sent out. But I'm just going to recap the dates. March 3rd is the Northwest Cider Cup opens for entries. March 17th and 18th, we've got the Cider Symposium. March 17th, we'll have some optional pre-event activities like tours and open houses, as well as a pre-party. We're going to do a cider takeover of the brewery blocks in Tacoma. And then March 18th all day is the symposium. And then April 28th to May 30th will be Cider Cup entry receiving. So that's when you'll be able to ship or drop off your cider. And June 9th, we'll do the competition. And then June 26th, we're going to do the party. And we're excited about that. And then new this year, and we'll talk about it soon, or maybe next, is the Sagres del Radicchio and cider. We're going to do that on December 7th. So it'll be a great big consumer festival. So put it on your calendar. That's in Portland.
Hi, everyone. We're excited to unveil an exclusive sneak peek at our brand new website coming soon to northwestcider.com. The main purpose of this project that we've been working on behind the scenes is to restructure the website to better reach our three main audience groups that usually visit the site. So those groups are our consumers, our industry, which includes cider makers, orchardists, allied suppliers, and members, as well as trade, which includes gatekeepers like buyers, distributors, media, and influencers. The new site is going to be a lot easier to navigate and to quickly find the information that you're looking for. And we're also creating new content for consumers and trade to learn more about Northwest Cider. Just note as a member that on the new site, the member login button will be on the top right-hand corner, which is where you'll log in to access your membership benefits in Wild Apricot. And I'll share more about logging into Wild Apricot later in the meeting. This project was funded in part by 2022 grants from Oregon and Washington Departments of Ag. And we also wanted to share what the new industry landing page is going to look like. So again, this is information catered to cider makers, orchardists, allied suppliers, and members. And this is where you'll go to learn more about our industry-facing programs like the Northwest Cider Symposium, Northwest Cider Cup entries, as well as one-off programs like the Cider Saga that Emily just mentioned. And we're in the final phase of transferring the content to the new site now, and we plan to launch the site in early 2025, so stay tuned.
I'll pick up the conversation on the culinary education. Hi, folks. Jana. Northwest Cider Association here. It's been mentioned a couple times that we're kind of looking ahead into our year of 2025, and we're excited to really dig in on culinary education. We know that this is a great intersection for cider. Michelle McGrath mentioned it. Specifically, there's a great Data Essentials study. We can send this out in the notes if you're interested in reading it, and it shows that food and beverage trends often really start early in high-end restaurants and trickle down. It's an awesome way to think about how we might leverage more visibility and more opportunities for cider to sell to more folks, obviously on-prem, but also off-prem. So this is kind of an exciting area of research and of action. We're taking action in the year ahead, partnering with the Culinary Breeding Network. And if you don't know what they do, take a look, search them up. We'll send out links for sure and keep you updated. But there's a really great energy and synergy that has happened with Culinary Breeding Network around how to get crops like radicchio, which maybe was lesser known and now is kind of got a cool cult following, into the mouths and onto the tables of folks, you know, in high end and in, you know, kitchens across the region. So specifically, we're working on some projects, and I'll get into those, but I will mention that they are supported by specialty crop grant funding, again, from Oregon Department of Ag and Washington State Department of Ag. Next slide will show what we're up to. Preview, as I said, mostly 2025 is where we start to roll out, but here's a little pilot. It was mentioned that the Sagre de Radicchio is coming December 8th to the Red in Portland, Oregon. We'll have a little pilot. We'll test out how it works to pair cider at this event for a few tables, and then we'll also have a new updated version of our pairing card. Some of you have been tracking, you know, we slowly are updating a lot of our materials. We have one that we have had for quite a few years, so it's kind of due for a good refresh, and we're excited to roll that out there. And then in 2025, we're going to hit it hard with some really great programming. Our October is when we're planning to do a culinary and cider education experience. This will be really focused around chefs and gatekeepers. I'll just say again out loud, gatekeepers for us is sort of that whole population of folks who really help to make decisions about cider. So they might be cider buyers, taproom owners, folks who are, you know, putting cider on menus, and that'll happen in Seattle. Location is TBD. So if you've got a lead on a really great spot, preferably for, you know, cheap or no money or something, you know, innovative, you got a partnership, please reach out to us and let us know. We're excited to be planning that out, but we definitely have some creative space. And then we'll see kind of a big crescendo of that work happening back here next December 2025. We've already got the date on the calendar. It's December 7th, and that will be at the Red, and we'll blow up that Radicchio event with cider. So that'll be a fun place to take hold. Stay tuned for other programming, not just, you know, in this specific channel, but also through symposium and other opportunities. Looking forward to that.
Thanks, Jana. And yeah, if you have ideas for a place to host an event for 200 people in the greater Seattle area, please let us know. All right, quick reminder to renew your membership if you haven't already. There's not too many people hanging out there who aren't on auto pay for your credit card. That will be charged December 1st. But the 30 or so of you who don't have it on auto pay, please do take a look at your invoice. We really appreciate that. Okay, some data for you. This is the maybe 10th year we've done the State of the Industry report. It is a lot of work analyzing so many responses and making sense of the data, but I have to say it's really fascinating. And I really hope it's helpful to you and your business. Over the years, we've really heard great feedback that, you know, Nielsen data is incredible. And especially thanks to the American Cider Association, we now have better access to Nielsen data. However, that doesn't always get at the demographics of our members or at sales or trends happening for the smaller guys. As many of you know, Nielsen data or IRI tracks larger chains generally. So, you know, Kroger or maybe Whole Foods, that is included, and it's not capturing what our nano or medium cideries are doing. So it's really the point here. We try and get a sense of who's doing what, where. And this year we had the most responses we've ever had. I really, really appreciate everyone who spent the time. We know it is a lot of work. It's a lot of digging and paperwork, and it really matters to us. 56 cideries responded. So if you are in there, this is going to really help you understand how your business fits into the overall trend. This survey was conducted in May, so keep that in mind. And we were asking mostly about the 2023 year, but we did ask some questions about trends. So we had 2021, 2022, and 2023. So let's dig in. Okay, so first is demographics of who responded and who is in our industry. And you guys are seeing this data first. We have not sent this out to anyone, but we will be sending it out after this. So feel free to take screenshots if you want, but we'll send the slides as well as notes out later. And there's actually going to be more in it than I'm presenting here. I didn't want to data overload you. I'm just giving you the really fascinating tidbits. And then there's plenty more slides with plenty more charts and graphs for those of you who are data dorks. Okay, so demographics. 2/3 of the respondents are from cideries that are women-owned. 1/8 are BIPOC-owned, so that's Black, Indigenous, and people of color. The majority of the respondents were from cideries who are owned by white women, and they tend to be small businesses. On average, 45% of employees hired were female across the board, which in comparison, the last time we did this study was about 50%, you know, different respondents, different answers slightly, but it's pretty consistent. And I'm really proud of how inclusive that is, especially compared to other like beer and wine industries. This year, we added a new question about executive leadership and who is included. So 80% of the respondents have women executives. Interestingly, women-owned cideries hire nearly twice as many females. On average, women-owned cideries were hiring 56% employees who are female versus the male-owned cideries hired about 30% females. Also, high revenue cideries were more likely to be run by men. Although women owned or own 66% of the cideries overall in our responses, they represented 38% of the cideries making over $500,000 a year in gross revenue. This was really fascinating. We compared female ownership to profitability, and female-owned cideries were twice as likely to be profitable compared to male-owned cideries. See a lot of the women smiling there. A lot of the folks in my screen here. Okay, and now to BIPOC, the Black, Indigenous, people of color in our Northwest cider industry. So almost all of the BIPOC-owned cideries, which were 7 who answered our survey, have one BIPOC employee, or have at least one. 1 in 10, so that's more like 9% of the non-BIPOC owned cideries have at least one BIPOC employee. So kind of similar trend to the female owned, right? Female owned cideries are hiring more females, BIPOC owned cideries are hiring more BIPOC employees. And then only 4% of non-BIPOC owned cideries have BIPOC execs on staff. Finally, on average, 12% of employees overall from all the respondents are Black, Indigenous, or people of color, versus just looking at Oregon and Washington, since that was the majority of our respondents, overall population is about 27.5% BIPOC. You know, some of the responses were from BC, Montana, and Idaho, and those are whiter states. Okay, let's dig into the business and profitability. 40% of our respondents said they were profitable in 2023. Now take that as you want, because we didn't define profitability. Maybe if someone made $1, that they counted themselves in there. I don't know. We didn't get into any other detail there, but I found that really interesting. The number of profitable cideries are here, present profitable on the y-axis, and then on the x-axis, it's the cidery size. So we took a look at if you were a nano cidery, which we defined under 10,000 gallons a year, versus a medium cidery between 10,000 and 200,000 gallons. And then anyone making over 200,000 gallons a year, we put them in a large category to try and preserve some anonymity. Do keep in mind that we had 5 responses from the larger cideries. So the N number will be a little skewed when you look at that. But yeah, the nano here, we're at 80%, or the large here, we're at 80%. In 2021, green. In 2022, 40%, and 2023 is red. So that continues for medium and nano as well. Okay, then we looked at size. So we were breaking it down, and generally cideries making over $500,000 in gross revenue are more likely to be profitable. You can kind of see the trend going where gross revenue is on the x-axis, percent profitable is on the y-axis. And we did take into account all 3 years. 21 and 22 was pretty pandemic-y, but 23, we're seeing that kind of leveling up. Okay, we also asked questions like, how much are you paying for cider apples? And we defined that as bittersweet, bitter sharp. The answer, the average, was about 64 cents a pound this year. As we've been doing this study, that number has been slowly rising, which I think is really an indicator of the industry maturing. It was probably about 45 or 50 cents per pound when we first started this study. A third of our members have their own orchard, and 1% of production is Perry specifically. Okay, then we looked at orchards and profitability. So cideries with an orchard, which were 39 of them, 43%, hopefully you can see my cursor here, were profitable, leaving 57% not profitable. Of the cideries who didn't have an orchard, who responded to the survey, that was 15 of them, 26% were profitable. Okay, we also asked about sales and the volume being sold. We wanted to kind of compare volume on-site, on-prem, and online. We also looked at draft volume versus package. I'm seeing a question here about the appendix. So we will send these slides out later after this presentation, where you'll have all of this information plus more, all the stuff I edited out of today. So draft volume sales, they tended to increase between 2022 and 2023. If you look at the red bars on the graph, those are folks who responded that they were seeing a modest or a mild decrease in their draft volume. Orange is no change. And then green is folks who responded that they had a mild to a rapid increase. And we did ask about package, which didn't have as much of a change. So I'm not going to show you that slide there. The larger cideries did see a slight decrease in package volume between 2022 and 2023. And then we get into profitable cideries and how much were they selling in their tasting room. Generally, the average for 2023 was about 40% of their volume passes through their own tasting room. Okay, and we'll finish with this. We asked about your best-selling cider styles, and we gave a whole list of styles based on our cider cup category style guidelines. And folks responded that the best-selling cider was their apple-only low tannin dry. Second, I'm not that surprised, is fruit post-fermentation edition sweet. But number 3, I'd love your feedback on here. Number 3 is apparently apple only high tannin dry. What do you think? Always take the data with a grain of salt. It's all based on the respondents, and we had 56 people really generously spend time responding. And if you haven't participated before, I really urge you to in the future. Thanks. Okay, we're gonna get into what have we been doing for you in the last year, and how are your dues being spent? So Jana, I'll pass the mic.
Okay, thank you. Our next slide is going to talk about consumer market research. Some of you have heard us talk about this quite a bit. Let me just set the stage quickly. Northwest Cider Association helps grow market share for cider, and we do this well by knowing our consumers. Partnering with Oregon State University Food Innovation Center in summer of 2023, we conducted both qualitative and quantitative market research to better understand that post-pandemic consumer, specifically the cider curious consumer. Those are folks who are buying cider some of the time. And a variety of the consumer market research resources are now available for our members. That's what I wanted to call out to you today. Folks wanted to, first, we spent a lot of time kind of helping to aggregate and helping you to understand what we found. And then we also have all that raw data for you. Accessing this information is a member benefit, and we want to make sure that you are taking full advantage of it. I know some folks really are looking for the summary, and then here on the slide, you can see I pictured our beautiful one-pager. Laura worked really hard on this with me and Michelle and a few other folks. We've been putting a lot of thought into how to present that. And then some folks want to dig into those raw data sets. So those raw data sets and the aggregated data sets, including this, as well as a video, as well as a presentation, are all available to you, password protected in Wild Apricot. And if you need help finding it, and I know it will change with the beautiful website update, you know, it'll be a little even easier, but in the meantime, I did make you a little video on Zoom, so you can, we'll drop that in the chat and it'll be in the notes. You can watch that if you want a little tour of how to access that data and kind of, you know, decoding what those different data points are. I know it can be kind of a lot, so we're trying to demystify that. Other places that we've been continuing to share this information, some of you may have heard, I presented this at CiderCon 2024. A couple other folks were going to join me, but they were iced out. We'll get back to CiderCon later in this meeting. Also, we've been doing a similar parallel roadshow tour to what American Cider Association has been doing with the CCP education program, specifically focusing on helping to educate distributors and gatekeepers with regard to seeing the opportunity for cider sales and infusing these takeaways from the consumer market research so they can better use their skills and their time in front of consumers to sell more cider. Finally, there's a new Cider News for Trade newsletter. This is something that I put together in the last few months because it felt like we had a lot of specific information that we wanted to share with folks who are making decisions about cider. This is appropriate for allied suppliers, for distributors, for accounts, for media folks. And we'll drop a link in the chat if folks want to sign up for that. I know it's not necessarily for you, but maybe for those people who are adjacent to you, who you're trying to help influence and educate so that they can continue to be savvy about cider. And if you have content that you want to go out to that group, I'd love to hear from you. You can email me. I'll put it in the chat also, but Jana D at NW Cider is my email. And we will continue to use the data to inform our future marketing materials and offerings, and definitely hope that you also find it useful. Give us feedback. You know, it's obviously something that we want to be a two-way conversation. With that, passing it on. Back to you, Emily.
And I'll note that hopefully you all received our annual report in the mail. We actually paid for snail mail. And if you didn't, please let us know. But there's all this information in a lot of detail is in there. And we're just giving you the highlights right now and making sure you have links to follow up. Okay, so 2024 Cider Cup. As a reminder, we do this to make sure quality is really high in the region. We spend a lot of time educating judges in a way that I have not seen at any other cider competition. And I really think the quality of judges has skyrocketed since 2021 when Jana took over, really focusing on judge education, and she and a team from the board. Thank you so much to Christine and Scott and Andrew. Overhauled the style categories and really updated them. So if you haven't participated in a while and you haven't seen our styles, the low tannin, high tannin, we have a new red fleshed apple category, etc. Take a look, and also please consider entering. Even the GABF, the Great American Beer Awards, they this year launched cider and they followed our new styles. They had a tannin, no tannin category. So we're really leading this industry, and I'm glad it's catching on. I really hope that we all start speaking a sort of similar language when talking about styles of cider, because it's a confusing world out there for the consumer, for the buyer, for everyone, if we're all using different language. So the highlights from 2024, Columbia hosted us at their Wilsonville headquarters, and it was a really great event, and luckily they're hosting us again in June 2025. We had almost 270 entries from almost 50 cideries, so really that's a full third of our potential cideries in this region. There were 46 judges, 12 stewards who volunteered their time. I know many of you are on this call. I really appreciate that. Running a cider competition is not profitable, even with sponsors who help us make sure we hit our budget goals. But I really appreciate everyone who volunteers their time, because it is a lot to put this on. And I really appreciate the sponsors who help us break even. We also asked folks their top reasons for participating in the Cup this year, and so many of them, back to the community, really do it because they support the association. They really want to participate in community events, but then they also really want feedback from judges. So if you have not had someone try your cider blind and not know who you are, they have training about it. That's a really special and valuable piece. And I've heard from a lot of folks that they really appreciate that. Of course, some people enter because they want to win medals, which is a hard thing to do and really has value. 21% of our entries this year won medals. So if you did, I really hope you're proud of that. Okay, I think that was all my points there. Back to Jana.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks to all those judges, stewards, sponsors. I've got this clicking heart on this slide. This is marketing and PR. This is a huge part of what we do all year round. When I think about marketing cider, I think about it as an everyday activity. We wake up and we eat, we breathe, we sleep, and we promote cider. So big impacts are happening all the time. It's not always highly visible, so it's worth calling out. We're actively engaging hundreds of thousands of potential buyers, media, cider consumers, and we do a lot of different outreach programs. We're doing earned, paid, and owned media. It's highly impactful. The steering committee, the marketing steering committee gets my first shout out. We worked for the beginning of this year to update our strategic marketing plan. This was the first time we've ever had a plan. It's 2022 through 2025, and we have refined it. The marketing plan steered us to do the consumer market research so we could understand who we were marketing to. And so we're, really in an iteration of doing the work we set out to do. In 2025, we'll be tracking more metrics than ever. So we're going to be really digging into seeing if we're successful by seeing what those metrics look like, so we can continue to evaluate and refine that strategic marketing plan. Thanks, Laura, just dropped in the chat for you. You can take a look through it. Please feel free to let us know, if you have comments, questions, feedback. We're continuing to iterate, as I said. And I wanted to call out, I did some cute social media polls. Laura has been just doing a fantastic job. Laura, our membership and communications coordinator, of running our social media in a really pro way. And we have seen 4.2 million impressions on social and an increase of our followers at NW Cider. I hope everyone is following us on Insta and on Facebook. And if you have information you want shared, so that you can get amplified through our reach, please do email Laura, info@NW Cider. Some of the other big picture takeaways, I could talk a whole section, a whole hour on marketing and PR, but just real high level. Throughout the year, we share press releases that are intentional. We pitch stories specifically to specific targeted media outlets, and we field media inquiries that come into us, as well as all the other work that we're doing. But in the PR arena, that results in some pretty great hits. We had 60 plus unique media hits this year, including press in UK, press in Japan. This is really great. We had these really huge numbers, 35 million plus total unique monthly views through all the media outlets. This is when you tabulate all those media hits and how many times they're tracking folks coming to their site in an individual month. Also, not listed on here is a print circulation exceeding 500,000. I mean, there's a lot of people getting touched by cider. Most of us have alerts on our Google Calendar, and it pops up every time we get these, media hits. And there's really a lot. There's, a lot that we generate, and there's more coming, organically. And it's really exciting to kind of see that intersection and that momentum. A big program that we did this year was in Montana. Many of you may have heard us say it already, or you knew it was coming. That beautiful billboard across the bottom of this slide got 5 million impressions. This is a really cool example of when cider makers said, hey, you want to know how to reach the audience in Montana? It's windshield time. Put up those big billboards. And so that's what we did. We put up 9 billboards across the state of Montana for multiple months this summer. If you're tracking, there's about 12.5 million people visiting Montana every year. About half of them are coming in the summer. So it's pretty impressive to see how this really touched folks. We got a lot of media feedback from the billboards. We got a lot of feedback from the makers. I've talked to lots of people in Montana who were really pumped about these billboards and started thinking about Montana cider in a different way. I want to shout out Matthew LaRubio, who's a graphic designer and the co-owner of Western Cider in Missoula. This is his great design, and something that, was really a great kind of, one-off campaign that I thought would be worth sharing. And with that, I will turn it over to Laura to talk about membership.
I'll just add a quick note that those 12 million visitors in Montana, the Montana tourism industry is tracking, and the majority of them are from the greater Pacific Northwest. So those are everyone's drinkers here in our membership. So just because the billboards ran in Montana doesn't mean that someone who's drinking your cider didn't see them.
Yeah, Emily, thank you. And I feel like I skipped this on my notes, but this campaign was coinciding with 20% growth for regional cider in Montana. And yes, that is Montana cideries, of which there are a handful, but it's also your ciders. It's also the ciders from the Pacific Northwest, from Oregon, from Washington, some from Idaho, maybe some from BC as well, that are selling in the region and that are growing those numbers into really impressive stats. Those are regional cider sales, not national cider sales, that are happening in Montana. 20%, this is the fastest growing segment.
Thanks.
Moving on to membership benefits. Just a reminder that last year we migrated all of your membership benefits, including our library of unbranded cider marketing photos, consumer market research, recent reports, and more to Wild Apricot. I'll drop the link to log into Wild Apricot into the chat, or you can visit nwcider.com and click member login under the join page. When you're logging in, if you forgot your password, just hit the forgot password link to the right of the login button, and that will email you a new password.
Rather than emailing Laura, she doesn't control your password.
Well, I can in the back end, but also you can just hit the forget password link. And so once you're logged in, if you want to navigate to the Cidery Tools and Resources page, just hover over member resources and click that Cidery Tools and Resources. And that's where you'll see all of these benefits. If you have any trouble finding this or logging in, or if you want to add new members to your account, just email me at info@northwestcider.com. In 2024, we organized or sponsored 7 socials across the region. It was great to see so many of you out at these events. And so I'll just run through the list of where we were. In June, we went to Vancouver for BC Cider Fest. The bottom right picture there is all the cider makers hanging out after the festival. And then we hosted the Northwest Cider Cup Awards party in Portland. We saw many of you there celebrating our cider award winners. And in July, we went to Orcas Isle Cider and Mead Fest, and also to the Cider Industry Hangout at Cockrell, which was co-organized with Alpenfire Cider and Schilling. And we also went to Montana to visit with cideries and the Montana Department of Agriculture in Missoula. And we want to thank Western Cider, who hosted us for a packed day of visiting their orchard, visiting one of our billboards. You'll see the picture there of everyone standing below it, and also a tour of their cidery. And then in August, the beautiful picture on the top left is at Union Hill Cider in Wenatchee, where we met with cider makers there. And in September, we went to the first day of Cider Summit Seattle and got together with everyone there. So thanks to everyone who came out, and we are already looking forward to 2025. On the next slide, there's a list of dates for our events coming up in 2025. So take a screenshot or save the date now for these 5 planned socials, and I'll just run through the list. So in March, we're having the symposium pre-party that Emily Becker mentioned earlier. In May, Finn River will be hosting the Cider Maker Olympics. In June, the Northwest Cider Cup Awards party will return to Portland. In July, the 4th annual Cider Industry Hangout will happen at Cockrell Cider. And in Idaho Cider Festival, a return to Boise in October. If you want to host a social in 2025 and we haven't had one in your area in a while, just please reach out and let us know. We also want to let you know about a new page on the website that we created this year. This is to capture all of the recent media hits for cideries across the Northwest. So you can visit that page and read the latest news. If your cidery has been featured in a news story that includes podcasts, video segments, or articles, you can email me and I will get it listed on the site. And this is great for cideries to peruse all the news for the Northwest Cider, and also for consumers. So this is a part of our website update. So take a moment to look at all the articles that we've got over the year. And if you want to be featured on social media, there are 3 ways to do that. You can tag us in your post or story at NW Cider on Instagram, message us directly on Instagram at NW Cider, or send me an email again at info@northwestcider.com. And have you seen our new Northwest Cider Lovers sweatshirts? You can see Molly and Dave on our board here modeling the new sweatshirts that we're able to offer thanks to a sponsorship from Fruit Smart. Please get one, celebrate our community, and show your love of Northwest Cider, or gift one to a Northwest Cider lover in your life. We'll drop the link in the chat to buy one. And I'll pass it off to Emily Becker.
So something that we finished and is done now in 2024 is the Northwest Cider Club. We ran the Northwest Cider Club for 3 years, and we sent out 5,670 boxes of cider to people across the US I sent one box to Alaska. I'm very proud of that. They paid $82 in shipping. And all of the boxes featured all cider made in the Pacific Northwest by you. And we are very proud of that work we did. In February, we wrapped up Northwest Cider Association's work running it, and we passed it off as a package to our wonderful friends and members, Press Then Press. And they are continuing to run Northwest Cider Club, and they are continuing to reach out to Northwest Cider members to get your cider in that box, and they promote it. And right now, it's very cool because the current cider box features Cider Cup medal winners, and they're going to continue annually to do one box that features Northwest Cider Cup medal winners. Another cool thing that Press Then Press did this year, and they're going to hopefully continue to do, is they added a little tag so you can actually, for all of their inventory, you can see who has won a Northwest Cider Cup medal. So we'll continue to promote that Cider Club to consumers and also to the press as a way to get amazing Northwest cider in your life. And I hope you all continue, as all of your cideries continue, to work with Press Then Press to get your cider in there. And just emphasis that you have to be a Northwest Cider Association member to be included. And you can read a lot more, or like slightly more, about the Northwest Cider Club project as a whole in the annual report.
Thank you. Sorry, I missed a few slides. If you need that email address for Press Then Press, it's cider@pressthenpress.com. All right, Jana.
Okay. As we are quickly approaching CiderCon 2025, that high energy ramp up from CiderCon 2024 might seem long ago, but I'll just take us back. CiderCon happening in Portland was a big cause for celebration. This was the first time that the conference had been in the City of Roses for nearly a decade. Some of us remember when it was here last, and we were really pumped to reintroduce the experience to the region and to host so many of our cider friends. Our role at Northwest Cider Association enabled us to work closely with our friends at the American Cider Association. We hosted tours. We participated in a Northwest media preview, or we rather hosted that. And you folks, as well as folks from our staff, participated in Cider Share sessions, trade shows, and events. Before we switch slides, though, let me call out, I know it's no surprise, you might remember it was really actually ice-pocalypse. And so, you know, for example, the tours, some of which were canceled or creatively pivoted. So just another shout out to the ingenuity and the resilience of our community, because we did have to make a lot of pivots, but we had a really great time. That Northwest Media Preview is a special project that we, the Northwest Cider Association, hosted with you, our Northwest makers, for an hour before the regular Cider Share, the annual event at CiderCon. We had 160 attendees RSVP, which was awesome. Only about 60 of them showed up due to the weather preventing folks from coming. We did survey folks, though, after the fact, and the majority of the attendees reported that they tasted or learned something new, that they made meaningful connections with cideries, that they anticipated featuring more cider as a result, and would participate in this type of event again. Similarly, 28 of these resilient Northwest cider makers trudged through whatever weather to make it there. I remember fielding a lot of calls in that last hour leading up. So thanks again for the constant great community support. The majority of these folks also reported, the cideries said that they made meaningful connections, that they anticipated selling or increasing their sales or their media exposure, and they said that they would participate again. So, you know, it takes a lot of lift to do these kinds of events, and we always want to pulse check, you know, is it working for you? Is this where you want the energy to be spent? And we got a lot of positive response about that. So moving forward, CiderCon 2024 happened along with Oregon Cider Week. I added all the snowflakes to this. I first put them all over it, so I was like, that's how it felt, remember? No, this was awesome. Oregon Cider Week is near and dear to me personally. It's something I helped to organize for many years before joining the Northwest Cider Association team. This was a cool special edition of Cider Week. It hadn't been happening as a regular annual event post-pandemic. We organized with a 20-person volunteer planning committee. Thank you, huge group. Lots of energy. We organized over 100 consumer-facing events. This was a blowout week, really amazing. So much energy, so much collaboration, so many folks who were active and involved and wanted to host. As you know, I don't need to say, we had a lot of those events not be able to happen or get canceled or otherwise had to pivot. Good news is for most of our cideries, a lot of folks already ordered their cider prior to the event. So a lot of you sold in the product that you were going to for the events. And we did really manage to celebrate despite the weather. We had some really big hits. Again, Laura was really instrumental in helping to update and upgrade our Oregon Cider Week website. And we saw a huge response. We had over 16,000 folks go onto that interactive map and click through. We had about half those folks come to the events calendar page and check in on the events that were happening. We reached over 2 million folks on social media across the 4 channels using both Northwest Cider Association and the Oregon Cider Week. It was really pretty heartening, and we had a dedicated 35 plus earned media hits that were just for the events around Cider Week and CiderCon, but predominantly, folks are really reporting on some of the great events that you had planned. Yeah, that is a wrap. Let's not do it in the snow again, but we probably will. Resilience. Next, let's talk about
that. I think Michelle did a nice analysis of Nielsen data. And sales were actually quite up during this. So there's data to prove it because people purchased before the ice storm happened.
Just took a little longer to sell through, but there it was. Then let's take you to the beautiful apple blossom or cherry blossom season. Sorry, always apples. Cherry blossom season of Japan. It seems far away this gray, rainy November day, but I wanted to cast our minds back for a moment to April 2024, when a delegation of Northwest cider makers traveled 5,000 miles overseas to explore the international export market in Japan. This was work supported by a specialty crop grant from the Oregon Department of Agriculture. Teresa Yokiosha, who's the international trade manager at the Oregon Department of Agriculture, helped us to prep and traveled with us on this mission. In the chat, we'll share some of the resources that she provided. These are going to be really helpful if you're considering traveling to Japan, may or may not be relevant. You may have been following along on that adventure. It was our social media feed at Northwest Cider was featuring it. And you may have seen in that annual report that Emily Ritchie just held up the cherry blossom framed photo of the group of delegates. We went with 8 cideries. And I want to call out a big thanks. We were really lucky to work with Lee Reeve, who's the founder of Insider Japan and the Japan Cider Cup, which has been running since 2022. And Lee is a very passionate champion for cider and who is now educating folks about cider on behalf of the American Cider Association in Japan. So very cool, full circle. Lee helped us to export cider from these Northwest makers. So we shipped a pallet to be part of the Japan Cider Cup festivities and to do a number of in-person events around the country. He also worked to organize a robust itinerary and fearlessly led us through the country for 9 days. So Lee's not on this call, but if you know, he's amazing. We landed in Osaka. We traveled to the Nagano region where the apples are grown, met cider makers, tasted what they're making, and eventually made our way to Greater Tokyo to participate in the Japan Cider Cup. That's a public-facing event, and it drew fans from all over. The Northwest cider makers, no surprise to this crew, earned numerous medals at the Cup. So accolades to our makers for winning there. If you want to have your cider entered into the Japan Cider Cup, this is the time for 2025 Cup. We'll also put that link in the chat. There's details for entry, so you can hop right into that if you would like. While we were there, we met with representatives from the Agricultural Trade Office of the U.S. Embassy in 2 cities. We showed off Northwest ciders at numerous public-facing events. We took bullet trains everywhere. We went on a boat ride. We toured a sake making facility, and we ate as much as we could. According to our WhatsApp thread, where we bonded and shared pictures, this trip was a game changer. Truly one of the best experiences. What we learned is that currently only about 40% of the calories consumed in Japan are produced domestically, so the role of imports is key. This does create an opportunity for Northwest cider makers who have a special interest in this market and want to export. As you can imagine, the costs of Northwest cider when they get to Japan are very high, but there is increased interest in cider. Bauman's, Seattle Cider, Portland Cider are all exporting, and Blake's Avid Cider is now exporting as an outcome of the mission. This will be a really great market for us to stay connected to and keep an eye on moving forward. What we also learned, just to wrap this up, is that in many ways, the Japan cider market is just getting started. There's a small community of growers and makers working collaboratively to grow the cider market. The Japanese cider makers told us they aspire to have the collective community we have here in the Pacific Northwest. And this is something for us to remind ourselves to really appreciate, the richness of having the resources of experienced growers, makers, and sellers already in our community as a gift. And I know you know this because you're part of it. You took the time to be here today. The Japan Outbound Mission was another opportunity to affirm that the work we are doing is impactful in fostering this regional cider community. That's my mic drop.
Love it. Thank you. So we are excited to say that the vote for board members is ratified. Thank you everyone who voted. Welcome to Lindsay, to Molly, and to Kate. We're so excited to have them jump on board. Our first meeting with them will be early next month. We're going to stop the recording now and then open this up for any discussion. If you have questions about the content that we presented, or you have an announcement you want to make to your fellow members, whether you are selling some equipment or you're looking for equipment, or you have a cider social you're planning on organizing, but it didn't make it on the slide, any of those things. So Laura, please, if you would stop the recording,